Hey, thanks for joining me again. I'm going to talk about the Tesla Cybertruck. I know it's been a super long time since I posted anything on here, but I've been getting a lot of questions from friends and family, and I wanted to share my opinion on it. So, what am I going to talk about along the Cybertruck and Tesla? Well, I'm going to try to help you understand whether you should order or not. Put an order in. I did, and I think it's a very good idea for everybody to do so, and I'll try to help you along to understand whether to do that. What does this mean for fleets? If you're managing a fleet, or for fleet managers, could this mean? Try to answer that question as well. And what does the truck mean for Tesla? So what will it add to the value of Tesla potentially? We'll look kind of like what we think that could happen. And then to get going, let's take a look at some comparables. Well, you can see the Tesla Cybertruck is close to the cheapest next to the ICE vehicles, but they do have a lot longer life and a much more impressive spec. So I'd argue that it can come in and crush the market. And, you know, well, like, why would you spend more money than you have to, right? So I think these ones are gone. I don't see how these will come into the market and compete unless you just totally hate the look of the Cybertruck and are willing to pay more for something else that likely isn't as good on the specs front. They come close, but not quite as good overall. And then for the ICE cars, if you're running a fleet, you're exposed to fuel cost risk, especially amongst carbon pricing, etc. So, are you really going to go for your ICE car? I kind of doubt it. So I think that this one is the Cybertruck will take a good chunk of the market share away from ICE trucks, but that will remain to be seen, and I'll go kind of show you if they do, what will that mean to the market cap of Tesla, just so you can get an idea. And then the reason, though, that it looks the way it does is because Musk's goal was to offer a nice, affordable truck at a certain price. So that was the design constraints and the exoskeleton and how they had to draw it. They couldn't stamp it, so no round corners. This is all built this way to save costs. Eliminated painting of the vehicle, which a significant part, eliminated a lot of other equipment needed in the manufacturing process. So this really helped keep that price down. It's a revolution amongst how to build a truck, basically, or a vehicle for that matter, of anything. And then there's safety. So if you want to buy a Tesla, I would worry about safety. Actually, let's backtrack a little bit on the exoskeleton side. I'll point out one of the researchers that's quite good, and you should if you're interested in it, you should take a look at her work. Let's see. There we go. You should take a look at this lady, Katwati. I'm pretty sure I butchered it. I'm sorry. My wife's Persian. I should get that better. But anyways, although I believe she's Arabic. Could be wrong though. Yeah, she's done some really great research, and you should check her out. And very fascinating. I grabbed the pictures from her from her publication. So yeah, you could check out her work. She's done some really great work. Talks about how a little bit on how on YouTube, a little bit how crumple zones you can build it for. So yeah, definitely worth checking out her work, and others, kind of work like her to understand why Tesla built the vehicle the way they did. So let's go on. Like again, as I was showing you before, safety kills it. They kill it at Tesla. They by far the safest vehicle in their class. I'm pretty sure the Cybertruck will be no different. Their Model 3, Model S, and Model X are all the safest in their class. It goes beyond. This is if you get into the industry, but the odds of getting into the industry, as you see from this next slide is even far less. So, uh, I grabbed these numbers from the NSA numbers, and these are kind of reported by Tesla to compare. And as you can see, there's a pretty big difference between autopilot and without for each quarter, and then even a bigger difference from autopilot and the average US driver. I kind of wanted to segregate it out a little bit because, maybe people that are buying a Tesla are just naturally safer drivers, or they're driving them in safer areas, etc. There are cars around them. So let's compare, But when you try to compare Tesla owners to Tesla owners, you're still seeing this pretty big difference, and it looks to be growing. And I expect this to be even continue to grow. And you want to look at your multiples on how many more times better. You go significantly times, almost now approaching, without autopilot, almost 2.5 times safer if you drive with that autopilot engaged. So you definitely should. If you're looking at buying a vehicle, have families, you should get it. If you're managing a fleet, your company really cares about its safety metrics, which most companies do nowadays. Maybe I should do a video and try to track down the research on what does safety mean for a company to its bottom line. But from my years of experience in the utility business, it mattered. Like, it went through your metrics. When you're bidding for proposals and stuff, it was one things other companies would look for, and they cared about your safety. It was a part of the culture and everything, and helped you win bids, etc. So it matters. And then, will the Cybertruck fit into your garage? Like, it's a pretty big car, as you can see here. Like, it's substantially better than other cars, as this guy tweeted out. So people are starting to worry, well, it'll fit in my garage. Well, odds are, yeah, it will. Oops. I don't know how to remove those. But anyways, let's see. Let's erase those. There we go. We got them. All right. So take a look. A Cybertruck is just under the square, so it will fit. Whereas a Ford F-150, likely won't fit in a lot of common two-car garages. So Tesla looks like they did take this into account, but you're going to say, I'm sure you're thinking, no, it still won't, because, it's just shy of it. Like, I need to be able to walk around your car. Well, Tesla has a solution for that problem. They have a summon. So you can just summon your vehicle, it'll park itself, drive out, so you don't need to be able to walk around it if you need to park it. Now, it is pretty weather resistant, being stainless steel, etc. So, don't worry about that too much. And just some more. I'm likely going to come up with a smaller version too, right? In the future, we could talk a little bit more about that. But if you want to buy it, it's good for camping. So you can, you got your camping options that likely are going to come. Good trailering, and then you really, a really great thing is is what I'm really interested in. They've improved enough on their solar panel technology, etc. Tesla, they're going to be able to add solar panel technology to the model. It's the Cybertruck, and you're going to be able to charge, in remote locations or during the day when you're in the parking lot. Maybe help to get you those extra kilometers back home if you're going a long distance, or going for a weekend, parking somewhere and let it charge up there. And get you back to the charging. I think it'll be a nice add-on for a lot of people. I know I'd be excited about getting it, although I'll have to see if it'll be worth it for the cost. anyway, so looking forward to seeing what the options are. I'm not a huge outdoor guy personally myself, so I'm not sure I get this, but we'll see. You know, it's looks cool. Likely to be renting this out. I'm hoping autopilot will be fully available by then, and maybe the steering wheel will be optional whether you have to get it or not. We'll see. And we'll take a look at the charging network. If you might be hesitant depending on your location. I know I have family in Saskatchewan. They're a little worried, but the chargers are coming into Saskatchewan, and I expect this to be, coming into play. So this is going to be coming soon, within likely the next 12 months. Now that they're starting to put in their superchargers with the new charging technology, and I'd expect them to start working on Northern Network and starting to fill in some of the other more, once you zoom in, remote locations, and beefing up their chargers over the coming years. Your $100 US or 150 Canadian is just a down. It's you get it back if it doesn't work out. So I definitely recommend holding your spot in line and locking in your prices. So for the future. So that's it's helping answer that question. Should you put it offer? And I'd say yes. And I'd say yes for the fleet too. And I'll show you how good the fleet numbers can be. And your maintenance is less. You just have less liquids, better, more robust changer. These are some information I found online around the maintenance, but some other reports are showing that it's actually coming in quite cheap. So let's take a look now at my napkin math, I like to call it, because it's not a full blown. It's just kind of a thought. Thought process. So first, when I went a couple of evenings ago, I was thinking, what happens if I just look at for the Cybertruck costs on, kind of I'll just depreciate it based on how much I use it per year and the fuel costs. So I went in and grabbed, from the EIA's website, your fuel cost for an ICE vehicle. So what does gasoline cost in the U.S.? So, I went there, and then you can see your pads and which region those are in for fuel pricing, or you can grab some individual states too here. So you can adjust those, and then you can pick your power go select those regions. You can 150 miles seems to be like the average length of how much you put on a vehicle, and then 200 seems to be kind of another option, and then 300 miles for an EV seems pretty common for a Tesla today. If you're to take a hold, and it's looking like you're going to get up towards the 500,000 potential and 1 million miles. But basically, you never buy another vehicle again if you're the average American driver. And don't put and then these are your options for how many miles. So you're kind of this is kind of what my sister's husband drives in from. They live in the mountains into the city every day to work, 4 days a week. So he racks up the miles. So if you like him, you should be really considering a Tesla. This is kind of one article I found for a New York city cabbie. He was putting on this many miles. If you're a fleet, putting on a lot of miles, you look at that, and you can adjust that here. So kind of light blue, you can adjust those. So, and then, discount rates for future cost savings. So in this type of way of looking at it, most are green. Let's put in cost of capital. We'll kind of skip over, kind of had an intermediate step, and then I looked at just cost of capital, but then I said, we need to make the two equal. So then I pop those in. I'll pop the sheet online. You can play around with it. Where I first, anytime after the ICE vehicle dies, because it has, let's say, half the lifespan of an ICE vehicle, what's the value of that future ICE vehicle in today's dollars? So I kind of brought that back and made that equal and popped those in. So for this one, this is set at California. We're comparing it to the Ford. No adjustment to the gas price. We have it 70. Let's just drop this to get an idea maybe more of what heavily used vehicle, but not extreme use. And we've got a discount rate of 15% for your cost of capital. And so, your Cybertruck does a pretty good job. Generally speaking, most economical cars from Tesla that will win out in most cases are your Model 3 and your Model Y. Other factors, if you're a fleet, you need to take a look into you need to do a little bit more detailed analysis in managing these vehicles in the shop. Should come in, they have a lot fewer parts for replacement, etc. So it should come in cheaper, but you're gonna need to put a plan in place for handling that, and how you're going to do that as a fleet if you're managing 200 vehicles or so. So it's not trivial, but this is kind of your first pass. Supposed if I was to do this, I'd likely go out and build a bit more robust model for a company if I was to actually sit down and analyze it. But this is just kind of, there's something here, we should look more in depth into it. Plus, you have to remember that this is also management to your fuel cost risks. Your power is much lower, much easier to manage. Can hedge that out, depending on if you're charging it in your business. Maybe you can put up solar panels, batteries. You can lock in. You're not exposed to carbon pricing in the future. Maybe we're forecast a potential that goes up quite high, $150, $250, maybe $350 a ton. Not unreasonable in the next decade to see. I know I got pushback on that statement, but it's not unreasonable. There's a lot of health costs with particulate matter, etc. And then you got your cost too with just your plain old carbon, right, that goes into the atmosphere with sea level rise, etc. Substantial costs associated with carbon. So if you're getting a cheaper vehicle, easier to manage vehicle, longer life vehicle, and better for the environment with less future policy risk, it's starting to look like a pretty robust argument to going to your managers and saying we need to move forward on this. Anyways, go ahead, play with this sheet, give me any feedback on it. I am human, it's always possible. I built it at one evening and I was tired, and always possible I made a typo. I'll load it up online in Google Docs or my OneDrive, and you can take a look at it. So and as I said, fleets are looking at it. There are, some cops have pre-ordered because of the strong, reasonably bulletproof to some small caliber. I can't remember, I'm not a gun guy. And the windows are strong too, so less likely to chip, etc. So it's a safer vehicle for police. And then, like I was saying, it's a platform. So, like if you're in, let's say, a city or an area, they'll likely come across with a smaller truck, would be my assumption, eventually too, for those smaller areas. Maybe a big van because of the growing delivery, etc. Like you're seeing van growth here is growing pretty strong. So I think there's a platform much more, they can take this platform that's cheap to manufacture, efficient to manufacture, and spread it out into other lines of vehicles and easy to maintain. You have to remember, Tesla's going to full automation, likely in the not too far off future, and they're building their cars to last. Because there's a good chance that they'll be owning a lot of their fleet and operating them, and you'll be just calling it on your phone like you do with your Uber or whatever ride-sharing application you're currently using with a ride-hailing application. So they'll become partially a fleet management company in the future. The automotive industry is being disrupted and changing, so we need to keep an eye on that. It's another reason to put an order, get a line in the queue. They have no reason to keep that all price as low as it is today in the future. So that's another good reason. Because of this, their profit margins are quite stronger, likely going to grow as autopilot increases. This is not perfect. They do a little bit of apples to apples, but it's reasonable apples to apples. A lot of their research and development is not put into this gross margin because it's for future projects, not products, not current products in there. So it's a little, some others, I believe, slight accounting differences, but generally so the gross profit margin maybe should, but it still is quite substantially better than, let's say, Ford. Another reason to maybe argue a higher valuation for their company per sales, so revenue. And this is kind of just S&P price to sales ratio. So how many more times sales should your price be of the stock? I'm going to use 2. So yeah, and we take a look at that, and we get over 100 billion in added market cap if they're selling a million, kind of like for roughly, let's say, a million units in the future of the Cybertruck, which I think is a reasonable, shockingly not likely and totally unreasonable that it could happen. No guarantees, so you have to weight that in, but it's showing you that this product could be a substantial seller. Especially if the economics are there. Why would you buy another one? And as people get more used to the vehicle and don't say, I hate the look of that, not going to buy it, no matter what. I think that will fade over time. Anyways, so, please subscribe. I'm going to change, start. Oh, here. Let's bring that back a bit. So I'm going to keep trying to publish more videos in the upcoming weeks, but more focus on the power market. I want to do because of my experience, I want to do some deep dives into power. What does that mean with Tesla? What does that mean in the renewable space, etc. So we're going to look a little bit closer at that. I'll try to factor those into the valuation of Tesla over time. Next, what I'm going to get in is just a rough overview of what are the, what are elements of power costs and what are different aspects of the power market. We'll dive through those market aspects and stuff and take a look at that over the next few weeks, and then build up to looking at more individual big projects that have been announced recently. Anyways, please subscribe if you're interested in that, and I'll loop around and try to publish a bit more on Tesla and stuff. But please subscribe, and maybe I was playing around too, and I put together a couple of t-shirts. If you like them, feel free to order them. Anyways, cheers, have a good day.